All right, good afternoon, Iceland. Looks like we are live. Feel free to chime in on the chat to make sure you can hear me and see me okay. I'm just going to check the stream on my end, make sure everything looks good. And it does look good. All right, everything's looking good. Okay, great. Hopefully, you guys can hear me and see me. Feel free to, like I said, just say something in the chat so I know you guys are there. And I will kick things off with a happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, Iceland. There you go. Good to see you. All right, so I can see that someone can see me, so that's awesome. Tremendous. Great. So, with that said, once again, good afternoon, Iceland. My name is Terry White, the Worldwide Design and Photography Evangelist here at Adobe. And it is my pleasure to do this stream, this exclusive stream for the Icelandic community. With that, and I have to give a special shout out and thank you to Einar. Einar is the one who coordinated all of this. He's the one who reached out to me to potentially do this stream, and also just we've had such a close relationship with Einar and Adobe and myself. I've been to Iceland a couple times, and it was a tremendous experience. It was just fantastic to see all the sights, and I just could never take enough pictures while I was there as a photographer. So I enjoyed both times there. And speaking of the relationship with Einar, Einar is the only gold reseller in Iceland. So gold meaning level of sponsorship. So he is basically, when we think of Iceland, we think of Einar. He is our connection to Iceland. So without him, this would not be possible. I certainly wouldn't be doing this on my week off if it were not for were not for Einar. So once again, thank you, Einar, for coordinating all of this and giving me the opportunity to show the Icelandic community some cool new things in Creative Cloud. And of course, we'll take questions as they come in. I can see you guys in the chat. So if you have something pressing or something that you don't quite see or understand or need me to repeat, I will certainly try and catch that as you say it and address it. So without further ado, we've got a little bit less than an hour to go. I'm going to start off with Creative Cloud. We're going to go through Lightroom. We're going to go through some of the mobile apps. We're going to go through cloud documents. We're going to do client reviews. We're going to talk about CC libraries. We're going to talk about a lot of things today. So hopefully we'll get through it all. I'll try and pace myself so that I can get through it all. And of course, I may interject something that I hadn't planned on. That's the worst case scenario. But we should be able to get through it all today. So without further ado, I'm going to switch over to my desktop so you guys can see what I'm doing here. I've got Creative Cloud open in my background there. And this is actually on the web browser. I'm going to switch over to the Creative Cloud desktop application. So this is what you get when you first go to install your Creative Cloud apps. And a lot of people just look at this as just that. It's the Creative Cloud installer. It's the place where I go to install Photoshop or Illustrator or Acrobat or anything I need. And it is that. It is that for most people. But it is so much more. If you never go back to it, you're kind of missing out on some of the capabilities that it can do. So let me walk you through some of what's here. First and foremost, like I said, the number one place where people want to go and check things out is their apps. That's what you got Creative Cloud for, is the applications. So you want to install them and keep them up to date. So that's great that I can do that, and I can see all the ones I've installed. I can see the ones I haven't installed yet. If I choose to install the new Aero beta for augmented reality, I can install that right now. And it also gives me a quick little icon to let me know if it's available on mobile. So like these two applications are desktop only. This one has a little mobile phone next to it, so it's letting me know that there's a mobile component for that application as well. In addition to that, you'll see if your applications are up to date or if there have been updates that could be applied. You'll also be able to install other versions. Because I know sometimes, like especially in the case of Photoshop, where there's an application or an update to Photoshop, but not necessarily the updates to all your filters or plugins or things that you rely on. So you might need to keep an older version which you can actually even run them. You can have multiple versions installed on the same computer. You can even run them in some cases at the same time. So in a lot of cases, people need to install maybe the previous version of Photoshop, but they also want to keep the new one for all the new features. So there is that, the ability to have other versions. And of course, this is also where you can come in and do an uninstall if there's something you don't need anymore. With that said, the global update panel is here. So you can just click here. You can always come in. If you're unsure, you can say check for updates. I just ran 3 updates that were waiting, so I don't think there are going to be any new ones. But you can also check for updates, and it will just do a quick check of everything you have installed. And if there is an update, it will show you those updates. So the ones I did today, I did an XD update, I did an Illustrator update, and I did the Photoshop update today. And these were updated a day ago. So always updating things when we need to add new features or fix problems. So that way you don't, remember the Creative Suite days where you kind of had to wait for the whole suite to get new features. Now that is, of course, no longer the case. Again, the apps, and if you're unfamiliar with a particular category, let's say I'm new to illustration and I don't know what's available for me, then I can click on illustration and I can see that, well, Photoshop can do illustration. It can draw and paint with pixel brushes, and it has filters. Illustrator is letting me know what Illustrator is all about. There's a brand new application for both desktop on Windows and iPad and iPhone. And that's Fresco. And if I want to get it on mobile, I could send myself a link to that. And Illustrator is also available on mobile as well now as of this past Max. So it's letting me know all of the things that are available in that particular category. If I wanted to get into 3D and AR, it lets me know about Adobe Dimension, which a lot of people still don't know to this day that we have a tool for creating 3D mock-ups, scenes, and packaging, as well as the Arrow, which is augmented reality, where you basically can use even Photoshop layers to create a scene that you can walk through. As you can see, she's holding up an iPad there and kind of walking through a photo. So applications. There are also the ability to manage your fonts, turning fonts on and off, having fonts automatically turn off if you haven't used them in a while. And you can even now see your previously active font. So you can say, hey, I used to use a font. I forgot which one it was. I can go see which ones they are. So font management is also a big part of the Creative Cloud application. Now, there's some things that are not built into the application, like Adobe Stock, Adobe Portfolio, Adobe Behance. So these are just links that will take you out to those specific pages on the website. And if you wanted to just look at what's available for a particular category, like these are all desktop apps, some of them have mobile components, some don't. If I wanted to look at what's available just on mobile, like maybe I want to just take a mobile device with me and not take a computer, and I want to see what I can do. And then I can quickly see at a glance what's available to me on mobile and grab those items. So for example, one of my new favorite mobile applications is Premiere Rush. I'm a Premiere Pro fan. I love editing in Premiere Pro on the desktop, but I also shoot video on my phone, and sometimes it's just great to be able to edit it right there on the spot. So Premiere Rush is definitely becoming one of my new favorites for editing video, and it does have a desktop component as well. All right, so we kind of covered that this is where you get your apps, but like I said, there's more to it than that. If you go up to the upper left-hand corner, you can see the other categories. You can see the apps, which we were already on, but you can also see categories like Your Work, Discover, and Marketplace. So let's go to Your Work, because this is a place where you can get to the things that you've been working on. So you can get to your Creative Cloud libraries, as you can see. I have dozens of Creative Cloud libraries. I love Creative Cloud libraries. We're going to get into a whole section of that in a few moments. I can get to my cloud documents. So if I click on my cloud documents here, I can see images or things I've stored in the cloud or created, whether I created them in Photoshop or Illustrator, on desktop or mobile, and I save them as a cloud document. They're available to me here. And I get to also launch my work file. I can view my links on the web as well, and we're going to get into that as far as sharing is concerned. All right, but one other little hidden thing when you're in the your work area is this little plus sign that most people would overlook. This little plus sign in the upper right hand corner. This is one of those things, like I said, if you just came here, oh, okay, these are my libraries, and you move on, you're going to skip this part. And this is the ability, when you click the plus sign, you can not only create a new library, but you can also go to libraries in the marketplace or browse shared libraries. So let's go to libraries in the marketplace. And this is kind of a new thing. This is giving you the ability to follow curated library content that Adobe has, said this is good content, this is great content. You should be able to follow it and get inspiration, if not get assets from it. So for example, there's a new library called Adobe Colors from Adobe. I want to follow that library because then I'll get the ability to see some cool colors and color themes that I may not have thought of. I follow the Web Gradients library. I also follow somewhere in here is the Google Design Materials library. There's a Fonts for Print library. So there's all kinds of libraries that will give you good starter content. Here's a nice one too, ink textures. I think I like that. And let me see what happens when I view more. It's just going to take me back to my library. All right, but anyway, if I scroll down now, I should be able to find that ink textures library. There it is. And I can just see some cool textures. And because I follow this library, these items now are going to be in all of my Adobe applications, both desktop and mobile, that use libraries. So if I wanted those Adobe, let's see if I can find it here, those Adobe color themes, here are all the Adobe color themes that I just followed. So those are now easily available to me because sometimes I struggle with picking colors that look good together. This will let me just quickly grab a theme of colors that look good together, like pre-approved by graphic designers, that you're gonna, if you use one of these color themes, especially I kind of like this one, use that color theme, you know those colors are going to look good next to each other. So you're kind of like getting a head start on your design by getting curated colors that you know are safe to use with each other. All right, so that's, and again, you can go straight to the marketplace and you can find not only library content, but the marketplace is also where you can find plugins or other things that work with Adobe products. So I know my wife Victoria uses Pixel Squid. She loves their 3D objects in Photoshop. You can turn them around and use them in compositing. You can use them in Adobe Dimension. So she's a big Pixel Squid fan, but you could get that plugin right here from the marketplace. And you can check out all the plugins that are available at any given time and just kind of scroll through things that you may not have otherwise discovered. So there's always tons of new plugins, tons of things coming out for all of the applications, and this is a quick way to get to them now built into the Creative Cloud app. And I got to be honest, I didn't know the marketplace had evolved this much. I knew that we had the shared libraries, but I'm just now seeing some of these plugins for the first time. So you got to stay on top of this stuff because it's always changing. All right, with that said, let's get into one of the areas I'm going to switch over to. So I'm going to kind of switch gears. I'm going to switch over to, let's switch over to my iPad just for a moment here. So let me go to my iPad. Oh, iPad, there we go. I've got Lightroom open on my iPad. I'm also going to open it up on my desktop. I'm just going to get that going too so we can see the side by side. And I'm also going to use it on my phone. Let me get to the same area in all three places. So I've got, I'm just going to go to all photos here. All right, so you're looking at it on my iPad. I'm getting it set up on my desktop as well. I hadn't opened it in a while, so it's syncing all the photos down. All right, good, good, good. Got it. Okay, and now I'm going to bring it up on my phone. I got it up in two places that look the same. Now let me bring my phone over, and here's my phone, and it looks the same as well. So, oh, you're not seeing my phone. All right, so let me switch back over. So that's iPad, my phone is in the middle, my desktop is behind it, and they're all three versions of Lightroom. So I'm looking at Lightroom on my phone, I'm looking at Lightroom on my computer, I'm looking at Lightroom on my iPad, and I'm looking at, of course, the same collection of photos. Now, I'm going to temporarily hide everything else. We're just going to concentrate on the phone for now. So I'm going to hide others. and we're just going to use the phone. And I'm looking at the all photos. I haven't created an album yet for this, but I'm going to, we'll create an Icelandic album as well, even though these aren't shots from Iceland. But I'm going to take a picture with the iPhone or with the Lightroom camera for the iPhone. So whether you're using Android or iOS, your Lightroom app has a camera. Now, I'm on the latest iPhone. I'm on the 12 Pro Max that just came out. And one of the things I am excited about that Apple's soon to release is their version of RAW for the iPhone. Like they're going to do an Apple Pro RAW for the iPhone. But before that, all the way back to, I believe it was the iPhone 7 Plus. It was certainly back almost that far, if not that far. We've been able to shoot in RAW on the iPhone. You just couldn't do it with the iPhone camera app. You couldn't do it with the one that was built in. But you could do it with Lightroom. And when Apple does come out with their camera RAW format, you will be able to shoot it in their app as well. But in the meantime, you've got a RAW shooting camera built in if you just have the Lightroom app. So if I fire up the camera, and I'm going to move over here to my subject. If I fire up the camera, that little blue icon in the bottom right-hand corner, it brings up the camera. And you can see I got a little light box over there. But at the very top of the screen, up here, oh, I'm on HDR, that's why. Hang on, let me go back to auto. There we go. The very top of the screen, you see I can switch between DNG and JPEG. So DNG is RAW and JPEG is JPEG. So you can toggle back and forth. But if you're going to shoot JPEG, then you might as well shoot with the regular built-in camera. So the whole point I come into this app for when I want to photograph is I want something to give me the highest possible quality that my phone will render in RAW to give me complete editing capabilities. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and let's zoom in on this. There we go. And I'm just going to move it a little closer, a little closer. I got my little toy Tesla Model 3 there, my little Matchbox car. And I'm just going to go ahead and take the shot. Okay. And I could take more. I could put other things in there. So let's grab another one. I have a little apple here. And we'll go ahead and shoot the apple as well. Okay. And now I'm going to pop out of the camera. And as you can see, those two images have been added to Lightroom. And you can see that it says they're in DNG format. Now, in the upper right-hand corner, it also shows me a little cloud icon, and it's letting me know that it's uploading those two images to the cloud. 80% done, 80% done on the next one, which means it's almost done. And in a second here, it should finish. And it just did. I see it popping over on the iPad there, so I don't have to wait for this. But basically, that means that it is now backed up that photo, synced it to the cloud, made it available everywhere that I run Lightroom. So on my iPad, on my computer, it's available everywhere. So I can go out in the field and either shoot with this camera and get RAW files, or I could even import images using a card reader on my iPad or my phone from my professional camera. So I can get the best images possible while I'm out and about without carrying a computer with me. Now, if I don't choose to carry a computer with me, let me just turn off some notifications over here on the computer I saw pop up. Let's not be bothered with those. If I turn off, or if I don't bring a computer with me and I just bring my mobile device, I can do all the same editing for the most part that I would do on the desktop. So I could do the editing right here on my phone, or I could switch over the view so that you see the iPad and you just see the same two images just popped up in the upper left corner. There's the apple, there's the car. And once I tap on one, let's go to the car, I can start to see the things that I might want to change on that car. So for example, one of the things I don't like is I don't like the white balance on that image. So for example, I can go to color. Yep, I get it, thank you. I can go to color and tap on white balance, and I can move my white balance eyedropper around and get the white balance that I want. I also don't like the focus on that image either, so I might take that again. Let me shoot that again. I'm not really happy with the focus on that one. I don't think I tapped to focus, so let's do that again. All right, so I'm going to bring up the switch back so you can see it. I'm going to bring up the camera again. And this time I'm going to get out of telephoto. I'm going to go back to wide and, and put the car back. There we go, and let's get a focus point this time. There we go. Let's back up the car a little bit more. Focus on the car this time and take a better shot. We'll take two, just in case. Okay, so once again, I decided to reshoot that, pop out of the camera. It's already, of course, those images are already in the phone, and in a second or two, they'll sync up and sync the full resolution, the full 12 megapixel that this camera can shoot, and make them available to me on all my other devices. So backing up has always been a part of Lightroom, and then of course we have Lightroom Classic. If you want to talk about that, we can. But as far as Lightroom is concerned, it is the one that is, some people like to say cloud-based. I don't want to call it cloud-based because that makes you think that you're running it in a browser. You're actually running an application, but it is putting the files in the cloud. So it's backing up and syncing your images. All right, let me make sure that is happening. Okay, they are there. I'm not seeing them on my, okay, there they are, they just popped in. All right, let's pop over to the computer, or to the iPad, there we go. And now they're there, and now we can go ahead and look at one. Yeah, that looks better, as that one's in focus. Okay, so same thing, we're gonna go ahead and choose the color, because I didn't like the white balance. We'll move that around, get a better white balance. And now that I've done that, we'll say okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and auto tone that just to bring up some of those brightness and highlights. And of course, you know, that's a whole lot of background for such a little car, so I might want to crop that. And I can choose my different aspect ratios. I can use the original, I can use custom, I can use any one of the standard ones. I can maybe even do a square. Let's try square. And then I can bring that down some more and refocus my car where I want it to be in that shot. There we go. And once I'm done, I'm done. So I'm done cropping, but I can also continue editing. So I can go in and continue editing this photo. So if I wanted to apply any exposure adjustments, I can. Maybe adjust the exposure a little bit, maybe increase the contrast a little bit more. There's not really a lot of color to play with, but I have color settings. We also adjusted the color temperature to be not as blue, but to make it warm up a little bit when we did the white balance. There's not a lot of color, so I don't have to worry about vibrance, but I could. And if I go to the other image, like the apple, then I could do some of those color things. The white balance on this one looks okay, but let's go ahead and check it again just to make sure. All right, good. We got a good white balance there. And same thing, we'll run auto tone on that to brighten it up. And all these edits are non-destructive. So if I wanted to bump the exposure or the contrast, I can do any of those things right here on my iPad. So same as I would do on my desktop. And even if I do it on the iPad, everything I've done is technically a metadata adjustment. So everything is happening, you know, syncing those metadata edits back up to the cloud so they apply everywhere. So even if I go back now and look at my phone, which I just brought my phone back up, my phone already has those edits. It already has the cropped car. So if I go to that one, we'll see the car. It's already been cropped. It's already been adjusted. And if I were to go to my desktop now, and we wait a few seconds there for that to come in, maybe not. Hang on. Yeah, I see it syncing over there. And here comes the stuff that I just told it to sync. And there's the car. So no matter where I am, I have access to all the things I did while I was out in the field. So whether I just took some photos on my phone, edited them, shared them, when I come back to my computer, they're there just as I edited them. If I took them on my phone and went to my iPad because I wanted a bigger screen or work with the Apple Pencil, I can because it's syncing the same photo. Or if I start on the computer and I want to go look at those images on my iPad, I can. So for example, I like to keep my favorite photos, or my portfolio, I should call it. Let me get out of some of these. Okay, yeah, I like to keep my portfolio as different albums in Lightroom. So for example, I fly drones, so I have a drone portfolio. And when I want to show people my favorite drone shots, I just put them in this album, or update this album, and then I go look at that same album on my phone or my iPad and then let people swipe through them. So if I go to my iPad, switch back to the iPad there. If I go to, oh, and I went to another app, sorry about that. Go to my iPad and go to that same drone portfolio. There it is. Now, it's not in the same order, but we can fix that just by switching the sort from capture date to custom. So it's in the same order that we were looking at on the desktop. And, you know, people can look at the photos, they can tap, they can zoom in, they can go full screen, they can swipe back and forth between them. Einar might remember that shot. Anyone from Iceland probably knows where this is. That is an Icelandic shot that I took there. That's Detroit. Detroit. That is Iceland as well. So I did a lot of drone footage when I was there in your country. Beautiful, beautiful. I'm enamored by your lighthouses and the beautiful water. So this one, I think we flew the drone out. This was probably about, I want to say 2 kilometers, at least 2 to 2.5 kilometers from the shoreline. So flew the drone out. I was afraid I was going to lose it. Kind of flew around it, took some photos, and then flew it back. And then I was very happy that I was successfully flew it that far. That was the furthest I ever flew a drone. And I couldn't see it anymore. I could only see what I was seeing on my display on my phone to see that I was taking the pictures. But it was so far out, couldn't see it, couldn't hear it. So I was flying it back basically by the camera. But I love, and that's also Iceland as well. Detroit, Iceland. That's my neighborhood, and that's it. All right, so if we pop out of this, we can go back. And so whether I start on the computer or start on mobile, the stuff syncs back and forth between the two. And I'm happy that I always have all my favorite photos with me at all times, no matter what device I'm on. All right, one more thing I should mention, even though I'm working on a beta where I don't quite have the ability to do everything all the way through. But let's say that I wanted to do something with this photo that maybe I want to add text to it. Or maybe I want to do something that Lightroom doesn't do, like text or, cloning or adding layers, or all of those things sound very much like Photoshop. Well, as you know, we do have Photoshop on the iPad as well. So if I were on a desktop, it would be no problem. I would take this photo, I would say edit in Photoshop. It would take a copy of it over to Photoshop and do whatever I wanted and bring the copy back. Well, that process has now made its way over to the iPad, except I've got one problem with my installation. But anyway, you would go to your share menu in the upper right corner, and then you would choose edit in Photoshop. And that will make a Photoshop document. Open up Photoshop on the iPad, bring that layer in. It would bring that layer in. I told you I had a problem with my installation. All right, let me try it again. Edit in Photoshop. Let's try it one more time. There we go. It brings that layer in, and then you can do whatever you want as a layered Photoshop file. So for example, I could add a text layer right now. So I could say that I want to tap the text. I could tap and then start typing. free, move that text around, put it where I want. It is making a standard text layer. If I triple tap, get it all selected, I can choose whatever font I want. So let's make it something a little bolder. Let's see here. I'll use Futura. There we go. And we can use Futura, and we'll use bold. And we'll actually kind of like medium. Yeah, we'll use medium. Get it the way I want. Tap done. I can change the color, do whatever I want. That's a text layer now. In the right-hand corner, you can see the layer for that. I can turn that layer off or on. I can move that layer around just like I would in regular Photoshop. I can go back to the background. If I saw something that needed an adjustment, let's zoom in on the car itself. Let's say there's a spot there that I want to take out. I can use my healing brush. I can take that spot out and remove it just like I would on the desktop. And when I'm all done, you see in the upper left-hand corner, there's a button that says Send to Lightroom. So that will send this layered file back to Lightroom and put it right next to the original. So you're never editing the original that you started with, whether it's a JPEG, RAW file, or anything. However, in this case, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to cancel. So yes, I'm going to discard the edits. No, I don't want to do that actually. I actually just want to save this out. Maybe I can't do it this way. Let's see. Publish and export. I could save it out as right here as a JPEG, for example. And I can save that image. Yes, and put it out on my Photos app, and that way I can share it, text message, whatever. And if I say send back to Lightroom, that should send that layered file back to it and put it right next to the original. Like I said, I was having a problem with my installation today, so it may not bring it back in. Even though it says it's receiving the Photoshop file, it should put it right next to it. I don't think it will because I was working with some betas early today and that may not come back. Yeah, I didn't expect it to. All right, but anyway, normally it would come back. They would be side by side in the same album or collection where you started. And then you would have both files. You could always go back and continue working on the layered Photoshop file, or you could continue working on the photo that you, oh, it did. Made a liar out of me. It brought it back this time. All right, there it is. Patience. All right. So you could, as I was saying, you get both the files right next to each other, and you can continue working on either one. So if I want to work on the layered file, I could edit it back in Photoshop again, or I could work with the original and do whatever I want. But here's the one that came over from Photoshop. It's a PSD. That PSD will open up in Photoshop on the desktop as a layered file. So if I now go to my desktop and go to my all photos, which is where that is. I saw it there a second ago. Let me scroll back up to it. There it is. Let me show you guys. There it is. And now if I were to say, right click, edit in Photoshop, now I'm back on my computer. It opens up that file in Photoshop. Ooh, it did not give me my layer though. That should have been layered. It should give me my text layer. Like I said, I've been working on some beta, so I may have broken that part of the workflow. But anyway, it would give me that file and I would be able to continue working on it under normal conditions. You should be able to work on it with that layered text, edit the text, change it to whatever you want, and you would have it. All right, I'm going to close this while we're in Photoshop because now we're going to move on and talk about cloud documents. So let's close this one. Now, I want to be clear that Lightroom has its own cloud. When I'm talking about cloud documents, I'm not talking about Lightroom. Lightroom's cloud is exactly what we saw. Photos move back and forth between Lightroom. So whether it's Lightroom Desktop, Lightroom Mobile, Lightroom Windows, Lightroom Mac, Lightroom Android, Lightroom iOS, Lightroom Web, that's the Lightroom cloud. Cloud documents are for your Creative Cloud apps. So currently the applications that take advantage of cloud documents are Photoshop, now Illustrator, Adobe XD, Adobe Fresco, Those are ones off the top of my head. I can't think of any others, but those are the main ones right now that work with cloud documents. So what do I mean by this? If I open up another photo here, let's open up this guy. All right, so I open up this photo, and I want it to be available to me on my iPad. Well, I could send it to the iPad all the traditional ways you can move photos back and forth. I could put it in Lightroom and access it that way. But if I just simply save this, do a save as, and say you get a choice, save to my computer is what you've been doing since day one 30 years ago. Save to cloud documents is relatively new. So if I say save to cloud documents, I can give it a name, guy with glasses. And once I do that, it saves it as a cloud document, meaning that now it's not saved on my hard drive. It's saved only in the cloud. So that means if I close it and I want to open it again, I can go back to open. Oh, sorry, not browse. I can go back to open. And I could see my cloud documents. So you can either open files on your computer the same way you've always done, or you could say open cloud documents, and you'll see all the ones you've saved to the cloud. So if I say open in cloud documents, there it is, just like I did. With layers, with whatever you've done to it, it would all be there. Now, let's say that I add some text. Let's say that I grab my type tool just like I would in any other Photoshop file. I type the word glasses. And I can't see it because it's in black, so let's make it a different color. Let's grab some skin tone color, and there it is. And I can make it bigger. And I can say OK, and there it is. Now, if I save that again, it just saves it to the cloud, and there it is. If I move it, now I've moved it, and I just close it. Let's say I don't hit save. Cloud documents automatically save. So even though I moved it and I did not expressly go up to file and say save, it still saved it because it doesn't let you hurt yourself. It doesn't let you accidentally close the document without saving it. And even if you don't do anything for a while, it periodically saves for you. So if I were to go back open this up again, I'll just go open it. Glasses is down to the bottom where it was because that's what it does. So now if I close this and I head over to my iPad, I'll switch over. There we go. Just want to check my cloud docs to make sure they're there. Yep, there it is. All right, let's switch over so you can see it. All right, there's my last cloud document in the bottom right-hand corner. So there it is. Tap on it in Photoshop on the iPad. It's pulling it down from the cloud, layers and everything. And there's my text layer. And I can also see, I can see there's some little blue dot there. That was on the original photo. So if I go to the background, and I now say that I want to use my Apple Pencil, and I want to use my spot healing brush. Oops, let's make a bigger one. There we go. And I remove that little blue dot, whatever that is. Zoom back out. And I want to also take the text layer, and I want to move it over here. Let's put it there instead. And then I just simply go back. It now has written that file, and it's now syncing that file. So whether I work on desktop or mobile with cloud documents, whatever you do is just automatically saved. And now a new feature is that they're automatically versioned. So we're going to get into the versioning that happens as well. I'm just waiting for that to sync. And we'll give it another second. I never know if the icon's going to update or not. Okay, it did. Gave me a green check mark, letting me know it's synced. So now, it would be disappointing if I went back to my desktop and opened it and it wasn't there. So let's go do that. Open. And I can already see the glasses are in the right-hand corner. I can already see that this is the current one. So let's cancel. I'm not even going to open it because we know that's the current one with the layers and everything. Actually, let's prove that it is the current one with the layers. There's my layer and my blue dot is gone. So again, if I move this some more and close it, saves it, updates the cloud document. Okay, great. So now we've been working back and forth between mobile and desktop. It doesn't matter. Oh, that's a good question. So I think it's Kari's asking, how much space do you have in the cloud? It really depends on your plan. It's hard for me to give you have this much because it depends on your plan. But I think all the plans now start with at least 100 gigabytes in the cloud. I could be wrong on that number. Don't hold me to it, but check your plan. And if you are on the Lightroom cloud plan, you start with a terabyte of storage there. So it just depends on your plan. I know we originally only used to give like 20 gigabytes of space. I think we've upped it from there. So I'm not sure what the current allocation is. And also, again, it would depend on your plan. So you can, you should be able to check that when you go to your, like for example, if you go to your login, go to your account details, it'll tell you how much storage you have on the web. All right, but good question. Because this matters. Obviously, you don't want to fill up all your cloud space with the cloud documents and libraries and all that, and then you can't work. So I know we give you a decent amount. I'm just not sure what that amount is anymore. Can more than one person work on the same file at the same time? No. Good question. We get that all the time. Can multiple people work on files at the same time? I would say most of our applications do not. I think Adobe XD now allows multiple people to work on it at the same time. We're going to get into some commenting and reviewing that can be done at the same time. But as far as editing, no, only from the standpoint of, that just gets confusing from a standpoint of, okay, I move something to the left, you move it to the right. Who's right? I move something up, you move it back down. How does the computer know? Does it just always go with the last move that happened? So it just gets really hard when everyone's trying to do it at the same time. All right, and it looks like someone said 1 terabyte standard. All right, so now I'm going to move over to, let's go back to Creative Cloud. And let's go back to my work. Let's go back to Cloud Documents. And there it is. So now I'm on the web, I'm in the cloud. I'm in the Creative Cloud desktop app. I'm not on the web yet. And you see my cloud document. So I can go out now to a web browser. I can view my work. I can view let's go to Files. All right, so now I'm in the web browser. Hang on, let me answer this message that's popping up there. Yes. I accidentally opened Bridge earlier and it keeps popping up wanting me to answer questions, so let me get that out of the way. Okay. All right, so now I'm in a web browser and I'm looking at my cloud document. I can look at it in my web browser. I'm not in Photoshop. I can make comments on it. And more importantly, I can now share this for review. So I can get a link. So you can share a file or documents and people can work on it on different times, but everyone can see the change. Well, it depends on what you mean by work on it. So I'm about to explain that right now. So work on it meaning I can't share, like with Creative Cloud, I'm not able to share let's say that Photoshop file and have you get the layers and work on those layers unless I just give you the file. Now I could just give you the file and send it to you or share a folder with the file in it. Then you can work on it and then I can see your changes. That can happen. But in terms of, and so yeah, that would be the best way to do it. It's for me to put it in a folder, Creative Cloud folder, share that folder with you give you edit access to that everything in that folder, then yes, you could edit it any way you want, and the changes would be synced back and forth no matter who edits it. But whoever edited it last, that's what we would see. So as long as one person didn't overwrite the other person's changes, then we'd be okay. So that's why it gets really sticky when multiple people try and edit the same photo or same image or same file. So in this case, I'm doing something a little different. I'm sending a link for review. So when I do this, I can allow commenting. I can allow them to save it to their Creative Cloud or not, so they can work on it, but I wouldn't see their changes necessarily. I can copy that link and then send it any way I want, email, text, however I want to send it. So I'm going to open up a new browser window incognito so that I'm not really logged in anymore. And now I'm just going to paste that link in. When I paste the link in, so this is what any generic person would see. They see the file, they can zoom in, they can move it around, pan around, they can see what I did. They don't get access to the layers, they can't change the type, they can't do anything, but they could say, for example, they could make a comment right here. They could say, hey, this glasses, change to eyeglasses. So they can tell me what they would like changed, and they can submit that. And because I'm in an incognito window, it doesn't know who I am. If they have an Adobe ID, they can sign in, but it's not required. They can just say that, hey, I'm Einar. I'm my buddy in Iceland. And it's going to ask me for pictures of tractors. Okay, that's a tractor, that's a tractor. I think those are all the tractors that I see. Okay, great. So it says Einar the guest made a comment, and multiple people with that link can make multiple comments, and everyone would see each other's comments that way. So that is one way to kind of solve the back and forth with multiple people, but yet one person is doing the changes. Now, what do I see on my end? If I go back to my browser, this is me logged in. I see Einar's comment there. So I can go back and I can, if I didn't know where it was, I can click on it and it will take me to it and highlight it. So I can see everyone's comments and I can go make the changes and then send out a new link saying, okay, I've made everyone's changes, any more changes, and then people could do it that way. Now, so that is one way to do it. And of course, I shared that link with the Save to Creative Cloud, so that person, if they're a Creative Cloud person, could save it as well. All right, next up on my list. So that is one way to share for review. I'm going to go to InDesign because InDesign has its own new way to share for review. It's very similar. So I'm in an InDesign brochure, and I want to start getting feedback on this design. So this is Adobe InDesign. I went from my normal workspace, which is my Terry White workspace with all my panels and my libraries and everything. And I'm going to switch to my review workspace. This is built into InDesign. So now I get to get the same kind of experience. I get a share button. And we used to have, and we still do, share a PDF for review. But now we can actually just simply do a share for review, which is a built-in feature. So once I do a share for review, I can say Iceland demo, create, and then I can add people and it will email them or it will invite them if I want to do an invite only, or I can just say, well, anyone, make it public, anyone with a link can do it, and no password required. And then I can copy that link and send it out to everyone. Okay, so that's been created. All right, let's go back. So now, if I were to go to my browser, go to another incognito window, paste that link in, I see the InDesign document. I can scroll the InDesign document, I can see all the pages, I can zoom in on it, but I get a little bit more editing capability or commenting capability because it's InDesign. So you can share if people can work on it. Yes, Agnes. Since that question keeps coming up, I'm going to come back to that in just a second. Let me finish this real quick, and then we'll come right back to that. All right. So, for example, I'm going to give you a couple ways to do it. So, if I were to say that, hey, I want to change the word department to something else. So I can say replace text and I can say department, highlight the word department here. There we go. And then I can say department should be category instead of department. Submit. And again, same thing. It's asking me who am I since I'm not signed in. I'm just going to give it a name. It's going to ask me for crosswalks. Those are crosswalks, crosswalks, crosswalks. Any more crosswalks? That one's one. Still not satisfied with my answer. Any more crosswalks? I hate these because I can never tell what it wants. I don't see it. I guess that's a crosswalk still. Okay, good. So it did it. I could do the same thing. I could put a pin here and I could say, hey, replace this chair with the green one. Submit. I could say, I could draw on it. So I could say, that was a highlighter. Sorry, that was a highlighter, not the marker. Make bold. Submit. And then the marker. This is the one I want. I can draw around things and make it bigger. Submit. Okay, so the person looking at your InDesign file goes through, makes all their comments. Everyone can make all their comments. We see them all in one place. When I come back to InDesign, my review panel should have updated, but all of those should be here. Did I not? Oh, hang on. Did I not do that right? Something's going on with my panel. It's there. Interesting. Those comments should show up there, and you would then be able to address them one by one. But my window looks a little weird with this big icon down here. Interesting. All right, I'm gonna look at one more thing. If I can't get it to work, just, it works. I've got a video of it working. Yeah, there it is. Manage reviews on the web, public settings. It's there. It knows it's a review. I'm not sure why my review panel's not updating, but all your comments would be there. Oh, and they're all in the document, so they are here. All of this happened in the InDesign document. I'm just not sure why it's not showing on the panel. So everyone's comments are here. You would be able to see them normally in the panel and address them, but it did work. It did bring those comments right into the InDesign document for the person working in InDesign to address them. I'm not sure why my panel didn't update, but we only have a few minutes left, so let me answer that one question really quickly. In Creative Cloud, you have a couple things. You have this area called Creative Cloud Files. This is just like a Dropbox, like a Google Docs or Google Drive. It's a folder where you can make as many folders and put as many things in them as you have space for. And then you can share those items out. So for example, if I make a new folder called Iceland, and then my Iceland folder, which is up here now, I right click on that folder. I can view that folder on the website. That folder has nothing in it right now, but then I can also share that folder out to people. So I can invite people to edit whatever's in that folder. So right now it's just they can look at the stuff in the folder, but I can also say they can edit the stuff in the folder. So that's one way that so will people have to sign in to comment? Nope. Remember, I was just using a guest account. I typed in the word Enar as me being Enar doing the commenting. They don't have to sign in. But same thing here, can edit. Now, in this case, they would need to sign in because you're actually giving them a Creative Cloud feature that they would need to be able to access that folder on their Creative Cloud to be able to edit. So if I were to send this out to someone, they would be able to edit whatever's in that folder, and whatever's in that folder that they edit, we all see those changes. So that's one way to do it. And that's probably the easiest way to do it. Now I was going to show you one more. I said I'd show you two ways. And so let me put something in that folder, by the way. Let's put this in that folder. So if I save this image out to my hard drive, to that Creative Cloud folder, to that Iceland folder, and I make this a Photoshop file, and I call it, let's just call it Woman with Glasses. You might be wondering why I have all these pictures of people with glasses. So I was showing people how to remove glare from glasses. I was looking for examples. All right, but glare in the glasses, saved it, and so now if we go back to that folder, that Iceland folder, it's got that image in it. It will sync that image, and we should get an update, but it will sync it. And then if we go back to the web and review and refresh this, and we let it sync, I see it syncing now. Once it finishes syncing and gives us a green check mark, then that will show up on the web, and anyone else that's got access to this folder would have access to that file. They could fully edit it, they could delete it, they could add things to it, they could put files in this folder because you've given them full rights to whatever's in this folder. No problem, Agnes. Glad I could help. Okay, so it's got the green check mark now, which means it did finish syncing. If we go back to my web browser here and refresh, there it is. So anyone with access to that folder can do whatever they want. We would all see it. If we both open it at the same time, let's say I open it in the folder, or I left it open, and you open it in the folder because it's on your hard drive now. If we both save to it, it's probably going to create a conflict if we both saved at the same time. And then it will say, well, which one of these two saves do you want to keep? So that's why, again, we're not really set up for multiple people editing the same file at the same time. It's more of, we can all access the same file, we can all edit it, but trying to do it at the same time is where it gets really weird. Because Creative Cloud at this point doesn't really know whose edits would be precedent, or whose edit. If I go into that and I add a text layer, and then you go into that and delete the text layer, and I've still got it open with the text layer, and I hit save, does it put the text layer back? It just really gets crazy when two people are trying to do the same exact thing. All right, two things. Terry, special Photoshop file format for sharing the cloud. The other thing is saving versions. Okay, we're going to do versions right now. Yes, cloud documents are a special format. They're PSD-C files, but that just means they're cloud documents. That's it. They're the same exact spec in every other way. They support all the same features, so forth and so on. It's just that they're designated as cloud documents. Versions, so let me get to that. Let me go back to my work, my files, my cloud documents. And remember this one? Remember this guy? How many times did we save this? We have a comment on it, but how many times did we save it? We started with the text up there, we saved it. We started with the text, then we went to the text down here, we saved it. We moved the text over here, we saved it. We opened it up on the iPad. We removed that blue mark, and then we moved it over here and saved it. So it's got multiple versions. So when you open it up in the browser and you go to your versions, which is this little timestamp icon in the right-hand corner, that's showing you all the versions. So if I click on a version, it loads that version. That's what we started with, the blue dot, no text. Go to this version. That's the one with the glasses in the upper left corner, the word glasses. We go to this version, glasses in the lower left corner. We go to this version, glasses in over to the right where Photoshop on the iPad removed the blue mark. Go to this version. This was the last version. So at any given time, if I come back or someone comes back and says, this is the one we like better, I could then say, you're okay, you're the boss. Go to the menu, revert to this version. So that's kind of how we do it from a standpoint of cloud documents automatically save versions when you either save yourself or when it auto saves. It's saving a version now. And it's a good thing because it used to overwrite, like whatever you did last is the version. Like you wouldn't have the ability to go back. But now it's letting you go back and revert to previous versions anytime you want. All right, and you can even name this version so that it's not just the time. It can say glasses lower left. So now we know what that one is. We don't have to guess based on the timestamp. And it's good to be able to name your versions. All right, last but not least, Creative Cloud libraries. I know I'm over time. Just give me a minute to get through this and we will call it a day. I am, as you saw, I had dozens and dozens and dozens, if not probably 100 libraries. I love, love, love Creative Cloud libraries. Creative Cloud libraries are in your apps. So Photoshop has libraries, Illustrator, InDesign, Premiere, After Effects, pretty much Adobe XD, pretty much all of our desktop apps, Dimension, they all support libraries. Libraries can be shared. Thank you. Yes, that is the other one I kept wanting to come back to, is that you can create a Creative Cloud library, put your own content in it, and share the library so that people, A, get the access to the content you're putting in it. That's one way to just simply share it one way so they can get to see and download whatever you've done. Or B, they get to also contribute to the library. So you can make it a two-way edit. So for example, let's create a new library. And let's call it Iceland. Hopefully I spelled that right. Iceland. So when I create that new Iceland library, it's empty. And it has, empty meaning it has nothing in it. I'm going to go back to Lightroom. And I'm going to grab a few photos from Iceland. Actually, I should have some up here. I guess I didn't put them in that folder. Okay, no problem. I know I have some here. All right, so Iceland, 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 Iceland. All right, and Iceland. That's Iceland too. So let's export those out. We're going to export those out as large JPEGs. And we'll even put them in our new Creative Cloud folder. Let's go there, here, export. Okay, it's done. So if I go back to that folder now, I've got those JPEGs in there. And now if I were to go back to Photoshop, where I've got that new Iceland library, oh, hang on, let me go back to the folder. And I want to take those JPEGs that I just created, I can drag them right into a library. So you can drag and drop from your operating system to quickly populate a library, or if you've got an image open, here, let's go find one more. Even though this isn't Iceland, let's pretend for a minute. Let's edit this in Photoshop. Yes, sure, use Smart Preview. And now I could say, hey, I've got an image open that I'm working on. Add that to the library. So I can just click the plus sign and add this graphic, and it adds it to the library. So you can add images to the library either way. Finally, right way of linking asset import. Okay, I'm just keeping me to the topics at hand. All right, so we've got the libraries open. We've added stuff to our Icelandic library. If you open one of these items and make changes to it, technically it's linked to the library. So let me close this one, and let me open up this one. And I make a change. I I don't know what I want to do. Let's say we duplicate the boat. So let's grab it. Let's grab it. Object select tool. And we duplicate it. And we move it. And we rotate it. And we make it smaller. And we accept it. And we merge that layer down and save it. When I save that file, it updates the library because that's where it came from. So technically, when you double click on any one of these items, you're still editing the one that's linked. So now if we close this and we open it again, that's the new one in the library. So that's one form of linking. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about while we're here in the libraries before we get into all the linking things is I want to view it on the website because that's where all sharing takes place. So when I view this library on the website, we have two more things to talk about in libraries, then we're going to move on. We have the ability to share, invite, and the same thing. If I invite you to this library and I give you the ability to edit, you'll not only see all the content in the library, you'll be able to edit the content in the library, you'll be able to add your own content to the library, you'll be able to delete from the library. If I just make it so you can view, then you can just view, you can download, you can copy to your libraries, but you're never changing my library. Now there's one more way. If I don't even want that back and forth, I can just get a link. I can get a link to the library and I can say that, this is a one-way link. You can save files, you can follow it, similar to the public libraries or the marketplace libraries. And that's it. I'll never know what you do. I'm giving you a link. It's a one-off. I'll never see you again. Here's the Iceland shots I want you to have. And I don't care what you do to them, because whatever you do to them won't happen to me. It won't change anything in my libraries. So that's sharing libraries and sharing the content and editing the content from the libraries. Now, let's talk about organization, because right now it's just a bunch of random pictures. But you have the ability we're viewing by type, which could be, let's open up one of these. Another type could be color. So let's grab the eyedropper. And I really like this orange color. And I can say, hey, I want to add that orange color to the library, add my foreground color. So now that's a color swatch. I add some type. And I type in the word Iceland. And I like that type. And I'm on the type layer. So I could add that as a character style. So that it will be abolition, which is the name of the font, orange type. No matter what I type or click on, it will be orange in that font. So you can add multiple things from an image to a library, including individual layers. But once you've done all that, here, let me close it. Now you've got all of these things and you're viewing them by default by type. So I'm seeing all my colors, all my character styles, all my graphics, so forth and so on. But you can also view by group. And right now we haven't created any groups. So let's create a new group. We're going to create a new group called lighthouses. And I can take each lighthouse shot, that's a lighthouse shot, and drag it into the group. I can drag that one out of the group, actually. That's a lighthouse, drag it to the group. Any more lighthouse? That's a lighthouse, drag it to the group. That's a lighthouse, drag it to the group. And if you have the images selected when you create the group, it will automatically add them. So now I have two categories. Lighthouses and not grouped. So I can make another group. I could make another group called landscapes. And now I could say, well, hey, let's turn up the lighthouses and let's deal with just these. So, hey, that's a landscape. And maybe I want to make another group called mountains. You get the idea. You can make as many groups as you want. And you can, hang on, if I grab these, there we go. You can add whatever you want to your groups whenever you want. Hang on, if I move that up, there we go. And then you'll ultimately be left with whatever's not in a group, in the not grouped category. So this way is another way to organize a library so you can get to the specific things in that library that you want the most. All right, linking content. So there's InDesign, for example, is a great example of something that always linked. If I want to place one of those Icelandic shots in here, and I go to File, Place, and I go grab one of those photos from where we were just at, and I go grab one, and I put it here. Okay, great. That image is technically linked inside this InDesign document. So that means that if I were to want to edit this, and I hold down my Option key or Alt key and double click, that opens it in Photoshop for me to edit. And we'll make a change to it. Ooh, we can do a sky replacement. Let's try that. Sky replacement, a whole new world. Replace the sky with whatever sky I want. It automatically detects the sky. Lets me choose my own skies or the skies that are built into Photoshop. There, I've just replaced the sky. You got a bonus feature, bonus trick. Save. We can save on the computer. Oh, and because it's making me create a file because this is now layered. So let me flatten it. I don't have to flatten it, but just because I brought it in as a flattened file, it's just easier if I flatten it to go back out. So now when I close this, go to InDesign, it's got the new sky. So that's just one form of linking that's been around for 20 years because InDesign's always linked files when you bring them in. So whatever changes you make automatically update the InDesign file. Photoshop also now supports linking. So when you, let's open up one of those images again. Let's open up this one. So beautiful image, beautiful mountains. And if I were to now place another image on it, let's go File, Place. You'll notice that I get two choices now. I get Place Embedded, which is what it always used to do, and Place Linked, which is what it can do now. So which one do you pick? It depends on what you want. Place Embedded means whatever image I go find and place, no matter what happens to that image in its original form, like if I go back and edit that original image, it will never update my Photoshop file. Place Linked works just like InDesign. If I place an image on here and I go back and edit that image, it will also update it here. So it just really depends on what you want. So if I say Place Linked, and I go find one of these files, not that one, not that one, how about that one? We go place one of those on here, scale it down, and we'll just move it to the upper right corner for now. That is now linked inside of this InDesign file. So you can even see that it's got a link icon on the layer, letting me know that that's linked to an original. So it's almost like a super smart object. If we save it, back to its original file format. Yeah, because it's got layers now. Let's go ahead and save as. On the computer for now. Back to that same Iceland folder as a PSD. And so now if I were to go, if I close this, and I were to go edit that one file that we just placed, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? That one. If I go edit that file now, and let's just flip it. Let's just do free transform. Flip it. Flip horizontal. And flatten it back down and save it. Save it. Yes. Close it. Come back to that other Photoshop file. It should be flipped. It is not. Yeah, it's flipped to there. It's just not showing it to me. Interesting. Update from link, update all modified content. There we go. So once I update the link, it is now flipped. So that is linking from one application's file format to another, or just from InDesign to, or anything in InDesign. And of course, Photoshop, you get a choice, placing linked or not. It's up to you. And if I were to now take it up a notch and I were to go back to InDesign, and I were to now get rid of this file and place the new one, and I were then to go back to Photoshop, and I were to move it over, like move that layer over, and save it. Come back to InDesign, it's moved. It's already moved to the left the minute it got saved. So linking between images, or between file formats, I shouldn't say images, between documents, linking content from one document to another just makes it that much easier. If you make changes, it updates everywhere. So it was great that Photoshop got the ability to place linked for that very reason. And anything you place from your library is already linked. So if I go back to my normal workspace here, and I go to my libraries, go to my Creative Cloud libraries, there they are. And I were to go back to that library we just created, there's my Icelandic library, there it is, all the group content, and I were to place anything, including this one, if I go edit that file now, because I placed it from the library, so if I go back to Photoshop, and I go back to that same library item, and I now convert it to black and white. I'm just trying to think the easiest way I want to do black and white. Let's do it this way. Black and white. And we'll bump up the colors a little bit. Or the contrast, I should say. There we go. We make it black and white. We save that. Because I saved it, it updated the library item. Because I placed it from the library in InDesign, it updated InDesign. So you can just have this amazing workflow that you use items from libraries, or from your Creative Cloud docs, or from your hard drive, that are always updating because they're placed as links. And anything in a library going into any of the applications is automatically linked. So libraries is probably your fastest, easiest way to do it. Because that way you can just place any kind of document in a library, any kind of file format just about, and place it into the documents that support that file format. And then whenever you update the library item, it automatically updates your documents. And that goes for text as well. So if you even type text as a layer, place it in your Creative Cloud library, and then place it everywhere throughout your documents, and then you double click that text to edit it, it updates all your documents. So I am way over time by like 18 minutes. I hope that you got something out of this. I think I answered all the questions, at least that I saw. And if I didn't, feel free to follow up with Einar, who will follow up with me if we missed anything. I want to give you back the rest of your day. So thank you guys for watching this. Thank you, Einar, for putting this together. And we couldn't have done it without you. Cheers, everyone. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time. And by the way, if you want to rewatch this, the link that you got to it with is available from now on. So I'm never going to delete it. All right, bye, everybody. Have a good day. Cheers. Have a great holiday as well if I don't see you before then. Have a great rest of your year and hopefully a happier new year. Cheers, everybody.